Welcome to Spirit Behind the Screen, a podcast about the aerospace and defense electronics industry. Each episode, your host, Marti McCurdy, deep dives on industry trends around high-reliability electronics and the supply chain in aerospace and defense. This is episode 68 with special guest Dr. Marcia Ballinger. Today, we're diving into how a visionary community college president is transforming Ohio's Rust Belt into a semiconductor powerhouse by creating the talent pipeline that's desperately needed to fuel America's advanced manufacturing renaissance.
Hello, and welcome to Behind the Screen podcast, episode 68. This is Marti McCurdy with Spirit Electronics, and I am absolutely thrilled to finally find time on my calendar and yours, Dr. Marcia Ballinger from Lorain County Community College, joining us today. Welcome.
Marti, thank you so much. I've been enthusiastically looking forward to the conversation today.
Great. Yes, me too. We have a little bit of history already together. You have worked with us to get the acquisition of SMART Microsystems done and completed in April, which is very exciting for us. And then obviously on the personal side, you've introduced us to fabulous French cuisine at Chez Francois near Cleveland.
So two great reasons to be in Lorain County.
Yes, exactly. Well, listen, I would like to dive in a little bit into your contributions at Lorain and really hear all the great things you're doing, because I'm a recipient of your great work in the interns and employment opportunities that are coming from your staff, your graduates to us, and also, into the industry, right? So I'm in Phoenix, so everybody here is struggling for talent and talent specific to our semiconductor industry, both in, assembly, circuit card assembly, package assembly, MEMS, all of these things. And you have put together just the most amazing opportunity for people to come and get an education and a degree specifically in this field, which immediately is a drop-in working human resource right out of the gate.
I appreciate that, Marti. It has been part of our vision and work for well over a decade. At Lorain County Community College, we focus very much on listening and learning from our employers. And, when I think about back around the 2008 to 2011 timeframe, when the world was rapidly changing and accelerating based on cloud computing, based on the advent of the iPhone and data analytics and embedding sensors into products that consumers could understand and utilize. And so while we have always had great strengths in technologies at Lorain County Community College, what we were hearing was very different from employers, right? That this rapid rate of acceleration was changing for them the types of jobs, what their processes and systems look like, and what would it mean to embed a sensor into a product, or how would they use technologies differently? And it was a very opportune time for us. We have always been a very vision-driven community college with extensive input from our community. So we worked with about 40 employers in the northern and northeast part of Ohio, which it has a very, very strong advanced manufacturing presence. And what we heard from them time and time again was they needed a program to be able to start to teach technician level education and training to either create new jobs or replacing jobs that were becoming obsolete in their factories, in their plants. And so our initial foray into this was it was a decade ago. It was back in the 2014, 2015 timeframe. And we created what what became really the foundation for our ecosystem in this space. And we created our associate's degree in applied science in MEMS, which, as you know, is microelectromechanical systems. And it was really, to fill the demand for that middle level skilled technician. And at that time, we were in the planning phases for how could we expand our capacity to not only grow talent, but how could we work on the employer side to help provide them with access to facilities and equipment that perhaps they were unable to either make an investment in, or they didn't have the talent to be able to create packaging and reliability testing. And so that really those two pieces became the foundation for building out our ecosystem in this space, and led to the creation of SMART, which we are so thrilled that Spirit Electronics is now the owner of SMART and driving it to that next level. So it's really been about this community, this region, what's been needed, and being a partner with our employers and working with them to co-design what it would be. So just leaning in hard to new innovations that we knew the way in which we developed curriculum and designed academic programs really needed to change based on how our world was rapidly changing and what our employers needed.
Well, Dr. Ballinger, I find all of the programs that you put together that we've been privy to, from your amazing robotics lab to obviously the MEMS lab, your CCA, all of these things have just as a testament to what you've done there. And I'll comment a couple things. One is your community in the region. You can see that the love that your team has, all the team that I worked with through the process, are just so committed to that community. And I love that because I, come from a small town in Pennsylvania. So it feels very much like home when I come there. And I feel like that, somebody like you and what you're doing with Lorain County Community College is transformational for that area, or it just stays a little stuck like, some areas back in PA where I'm from. So the facilities, let's talk about that, because you built just a world-class building there that we get to be a tenant in. And the facilities were, a labor of love by the looks of it, just from the care and the facilitization of the equipment and all of these things. And when you talk about advanced packaging, I think our super excited, roadmap is to kind of elevate from where the community college, maybe the resources or lack thereof, right, is kind of limiting advanced packaging. So we are very excited to bring in 300 millimeter capabilities, 2.5 and 3D packaging. So that's kind of what we've invested in so far, and that's very exciting for us. And also, you can see when the students take a look at some of this stuff, it's it's exciting for them too, right? It isn't just do some manual wire bonding. Now they've got interposers and stacking die and all kinds of things. So if you could just comment on how you got there, right? Like the facility and how you got to the
Sure.
MEMS. And you have I know you commented on the community that is in Northeast Ohio from a manufacturing standpoint, but just to touch on that, you do have not just semiconductor folks there, but you have some serious manufacturing people there.
We absolutely do. And, that's been part of the DNA of Ohio and Northeast Ohio and Lorain County in particular. And, when I think back to the college's founding in 1963, it was based on the manufacturers in our community. It was steel, it was automotive, and the supply chain along with that. And that really was part of that drive to create this college, which is Ohio's first community college. And so we have had strong relationships, and even more than relationships, really partnerships, deep partnerships with those manufacturers that span, across all of Northeast Ohio. And, from Rockwell to Lincoln to smaller companies. The supply chain has been immense. Ford is right down the street from us. And so recognizing that it's more than educating and training students or an incumbent workforce. It's about having the expertise as well as, to your point, Marty, the right equipment that is really at the cutting edge. And what I'm so excited about with Spirit Electronics being here in SMART and leading in this region, you will bring a whole new level, as you've just described, and elevating and amplifying that, and creating new level technicians that that we could only take it to a certain level. When we created the building, so it's part of a complex that is also connected to our Desich Entrepreneurship Center. And so when you think entrepreneurship and you think innovation, that really has been our complex, in addition to our Campana Center for Ideation and Innovation, which is right across the parking lot. It all focuses on how we are thinking about the future and how it is an integration across an ecosystem, right? It's not a one-off program. And I think that's part of what you've experienced here. We were able to create the building. We are bullish on philanthropic support and federal support and state support. And so that building for SMART really represents a combination as well as local support. We are supported by our local taxpayers. And that goes back, really to our founding. So we've been creative. We're very creative in terms of, we're vision driven, we're data informed, we're evidence based, and we push the accelerator when we know that that's the right opportunity. And that's what you've experienced in the SMART Center, and is an area that we continue our investing in with regard to our MEMS program. We're building out a third floor right now in the adjacent building in our Desich Center so that we can expand our MEMS program. What we know is MEMS cuts across many of our employers and different industry sectors within advanced manufacturing. And, I've had some employers tell me point blank, they will hire every single one of our graduates. And so we can't educate enough, right? We continue to grow that. And another phenomenal example for that is at one of our local school districts in Grafton, Ohio, Midview Schools, which is about 10 minutes away from here. You've met some of the students, you've met some of the graduates. I'm sure they will be future Spirit employees. But the high school asked us a couple of years ago to work with them to take a woodshop floor and convert that into a clean room so that we could start to teach students the introductory level courses from the MEMS program. We now teach 4 courses on site. The first year, which was just a year ago, they had 8 students. This past year, they had 50 students. They had another 50 students on a waiting list for it. So we're now looking at how can we work with Midview to build that out even further. And to your point about employer engagement, Ridge Tool Company, Rigid, philanthropically supported the build out of that space because they want to hire the students.
Yes.
So it really is, the facilities, the equipment, the curriculum, the partnerships, it's really all an integration.
Yes, that is the word. We look at it too. We're in line. We're like, we'll hire everybody. Do we get first dibs because we're there?
you might have a strategic advantage because you were right there, and the students, have the opportunity to do the work-based learning with you and experience it firsthand.
Yeah. Well, I think it's exciting. First off, your growth, right? So bringing that into high school and getting kids interested. And I think we have a couple interns this year here from the local colleges, and they, the problem is that unless you walk into a facility like, SMART or into Spirit here in Phoenix, it's just a language, right? Like semiconductors or MEMS or assembly. What are you guys talking about? Like in their minds, they come up with something, but they don't really know what we're saying unless they YouTube it and see a 2-minute clip.
That's right. And then they realize, oh, wow, this is what you're referring to. We had no idea. And when students, I had the lieutenant governor here a couple weeks ago, Jim Tressel, and he used to be the coach at Ohio State football for many years, many championships under his belt. He's now our lieutenant governor, and he asked me to host a session for him to bring in K through 12 partners as well as industry and have a conversation. And we did it in the Desich Entrepreneurship Center, and he toured going into SMART, and he wants all students to be able to have that kind of exposure so that they see firsthand, this is not what my father or mothers or grandparents experienced. This is innovation in advanced manufacturing. I had a handful of students who were there to demonstrate and show him what kinds of sensors they were working on. And, some of these, right, are the size of a piece of salt. Yes. And, and how they're able to create circuit boards with them. And when you bring students in from whether it's high schools, middle schools, or even college students who think they're coming here for one thing and then they hear about it and they learn and see and experience, it just changes perspectives.
Yes, it does. I find it fascinating. I think actually just amazingly, I'm going to reach over here. I have 2 of your samples. This is really what Lorain Community College. Yeah. And this is what your kids, did. I had one of your team here to interview with us. We flew him in for a week, and he walked in my office and he goes, "Are they my boards?" I go, "Maybe," but when I took a tour with Johnny, who's running your CCA line, I mean, when I saw what he was doing in that program, kids already in bunny suits, right? Students already getting adapted to this kind of technology. It was, you can't help but be exciting because every day you learn something new, right? It isn't the old wood shop where you are making salt shakers or whatever for your grandmother. But I think what's really amazing is, first off, I think that what we talked about in the acquisition of SMART with you and your team was the ecosystem, right? So I spent, 15 years in Silicon Valley, and now I've been here in Arizona 8 years, watching exactly the same thing occur, and that's the ecosystem. So once you have a let's call it a pillar or foundation of semiconductors or sensors in a region, then all of the other things start to backfill in, right? Chemicals and equipment manufacturers and test and it goes on, right? So we're really excited to be part of that, and I hope it comes to Lorain as well. I think you have the space for it, is to kind of get some of these companies in that we work with, so that you have more and more tools, so that these students leave there with filling more and more opportunities that are truly begging for talent.
Absolutely. Yeah. And to that point, as we've talked, Marti, Intel is currently building a foundry 2 hours away from here. And so we've been very engaged, not only with Intel, but the other 21 community colleges across the state in terms of developing curriculum or sharing curriculum that can be can be scaled throughout Ohio, because we recognize, to your exact point, that the build out of the ecosystem with the supply chain, it's not just in one area 2 hours away from here. In fact, we have been working with many of those employers. We have about 80 now that are actively engaged and on our advisory board and working to co-develop curriculum, not only for our MEMS program, but all of our engineering technologies programs, so automation and robotics, among others. So it has, for us, been extremely important to demonstrate to whether it's employers who are coming into Ohio or those who are growing, what we can do to help facilitate and accelerate the talent development pipeline. And that's regional, right? It's regional and it's state. So it's important for us to be very engaged in the talent development for the region through organizations like Team NEO, which is our economic development intermediary for the 14-county Northeast Ohio region. I serve as the co-chair for their Talent Development Council, which is very laser focused on here are the in-demand jobs and opportunities, not only with regard to who is here today, but who are we focused on and bringing into this region. And the Lorain County build out. So, and I should have probably said, for those who are listening, we're about 20 miles west of Cleveland, Ohio, right off the lake. And so we have tremendous assets here, including one of the greatest assets, which is water. Yes. As much water as, someone would need. So when you think about the semiconductor industry, that is, that's an asset that they desperately need. And, combine that with, we now have a mega site that has been assembled here in Lorain County, not very far away from the college, that is one of the state's best new sites going forward. And it's been recognized by site selectors as one of the top sites in the country right now. So the build out is going to occur without a doubt. Just yesterday, we hosted an economic development summit here for about 200 community leaders, and a report that was released by Team NEO, again, our economic development intermediary, was focused on, of the 14 counties in Northeast Ohio, Lorain County is bending the curve with regard to checking the box on everything from outpacing the region and the state in GDP, in new jobs, in educational attainment growth. And so that's going to bode extremely well for us going into the future, as well as for Spirit Electronics. And I chair the board of the Cleveland Clinic's Avon Hospital, and we had a board meeting yesterday and made an announcement of a $340 million investment in the Avon Hospital, that the groundbreaking is going to occur in 26. Another example of what's happening here. So ecosystem, partnerships, relationships, this is where it's at in the Midwest.
Yeah, for sure it is. I love your word pipeline, because, that is the key, right? You have to invest in it. And Intel, we have a great mayor here, Kate Gallega, and we work with her on trying to develop these things as well. We were all in a meeting, and there was the HR or VP there at Intel, and all the primes were here, all the semiconductor companies, and I was lucky enough to get invited. And he goes, well, what we do isn't sexy. How are we going to attract good talent? And I looked at him and I go, well, what you do might not be sexy, but what we do, we're on space programs, and we're on the Dream Chaser, and, we're on all of these really exciting things. And honestly, when you talk about sensors, I was going to comment is that, when you look at a spacecraft these days, any kind of satellite, the sensors that are required is just enormous, right? And there's a lot of focus on sensors. And I think Lorain has positioned itself really well to manage some of this sensor technology that's coming, and also what will be pipelined in the future. And I think you have, in all of these things, you have some serious growth this year as well from like historical attendance or students that are enrolling. Your numbers just are climbing tremendously.
So we're really excited that we've now rebounded from the pandemic.
Yes.
And in our graduation in May, we awarded over 3,100 credentials and degrees, which is the largest number in the college's 61-year history.
Wow.
And I think that's really indicative of that perseverance, that grit, that determination that defines the people from our community. And because these are many of the students who did start during the pandemic, right? And so when you think that's the group that's graduating, and spanning all ages, a huge growth area for us, which I'm really excited about. And I think about it in terms of what does this mean for this region, for a more vibrant economy in the next 5 years and the next 10 years, has been that K through 12 pipeline. So we have a what is called a dual enrollment program where students in high school can dually enroll in college classes and high school classes at the same time. So we teach them both at the high school, as is the case at Midview, which is program specific. But we are in every high school in this community. We now have 1/2 of all students graduating from Lorain County high schools have earned already with us 22 credit hours for free by the time that they graduate. And so that's double the state average, that's double the national average. And that's how we're growing pipelines that are aligned to the talent need of the employers. So, when you think about, wow, okay, so if 1/2 of all high school graduates already have that, we've set a new bold goal, and that is by 2035, 85% of all high school graduates will have, on average, with us 30 credit hours. That's what we're working toward. And because I want to be able to say to you, Marti, we're going to guarantee you all the employees you need to ensure that you've got the competitive workforce right here.
Yes, for sure. I can tell you in the last 3 years, especially, the lost years of COVID,
yes,
we struggle still to get enough people. I mean, every day we would probably take 10 more if we could get them in the industry, right? Mm-hmm. We've homegrown a lot from the beginning, but we're ready to kind of up our game as well with talent. But I want to, first off, before I let it slip, I just want to say that all of the things that you've discussed, I feel are all the outcome of your great leadership there. And what I've heard, before I met you, and all of the things that you've done there, is really you have been the driving magnificent force behind this whole operation. And I think that you also then have carried this to DC, if I'm not mistaken. You are also involved in the CHIPS Act and the Midwest Commons and these things that are trying to, push the envelope a little bit to get it out of the community college. And I know that you and the Lieutenant Governor are tight, and just like make this a broader conversation. And even if you could replicate some of this stuff in other small communities, right? I mean, you're just such a success story.
Well, I appreciate your kind words. I admire your leadership. And, we are two girls from Pennsylvania.
That's true. That is right.
So, yeah, something, that common bond. But, to your point, taking this to a national level, this is not typical space community colleges play in. And when we first started down this road, we were asked over and over again, why a community college, right? And it's about thinking outside the box, though, and leaning into where expertise is. So we find ourselves very often at the table with some of the, with the Georgia states, with Purdue, with MIT, and many others, and being in those same conversations or on those boards. I was delighted to be named to the NatCast Workforce Advisory Board. We were in Austin just a couple of weeks ago, and there are two community college represented on that board, Lorain County Community College and Austin Community College. And, to be able to not only be at the table, but to share and to learn from the others, and to, learn from the team at the CHIPS Act, and be a part of some of their strategies to advance this work, because we're all trying to create a playbook and want to scale it beyond what we currently do in each of our communities. We're currently working also with the Lumina Foundation, right? They did another convening in Austin as well. And I'm hoping to get one of those next convenings here in Lorain County. And
in the summer,
you be a part of that.
Yes, in the summer.
Yes. And then, serving, I serve on the board for ARM Advancement for Robotics and Manufacturing, based at Case Western, or not Case Western, that's here in Cleveland, at Carnegie Mellon back in Pittsburgh,
yes. Mm-hmm.
which is one of the Department of Defense's national networks of manufacturing institutes. It's important to have the community college voice there, because, while we are not on the research end, we are in the business of training technicians and creating workforce development programs. And that's what we bring to this.
Yes, for sure. When you say, when I look at the why on this, is because I feel like even just here, we deal with ASU and GCU, which is great. I think that you are, first off, nimble, and you can execute quickly. And I think that in your region also, you just have great influence, and you have people's ears, right? Like you're like Rigid and other companies I saw on the board that I recognize several there. But I think you just have the ability to execute where maybe sometimes others just get a little stuck. And I think that's your success, that you are pulling the trigger and you're getting these, kids involved, you're getting the enrollment up. I mean, all of those things in my mind is a win-win.
Well, thank you. And, I have to say, and you've met so many of our team, it's an incredible team.
It is.
It is
indeed.
just an absolutely incredible team.
Yes, it is.
And they have passion around this, right? I mean, when you mention Johnny, how many professors do you meet like that? Who?
Yes, exactly. He is a treasure, I will say, a busy treasure, but he's there.
Yes.
Well, I think one of our our arrangements with you, and I'm thrilled to be part of it, is a scholarship program that we're supporting to have students come in to Lorain just from we have a foundation, spiritgives.org. And so we're thrilled to do that as well. We love to see what's happening there and watch the progress of these students. And in the end, selfishly, filling our own pipeline of talented people. So I thank you for all of those.
We are as committed to your success here as well, and look forward to your growth here.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Ballinger. It's been a lovely conversation with you. I thank you coming online with me here at Behind the Screen podcast for Spirit Electronics. Thank you again, and appreciate all your work.
Thank you, Marty.
Thanks for listening to Spirit Behind the Screen. Your feedback matters. Please rate and review this podcast on your favorite podcast app, and let us know what or who you want to hear more about in the world of aerospace and defense. At Spirit Electronics, we own the qual. For more info about our value-added services and product lines, visit spiritelectronics.com.